Nicola Sturgeon has moved off her home turf today to tell a wider audience why they should vote to stay in the European Union.
I believe passionately that the EU is a force for good in our world.
Making this speech here in London, Nicola Sturgeon is declaring she intends to campaign across the whole of the UK for a vote to remain. And she's here to tell other politicians how to do it too. Warning David Cameron he could lose the referendum if he doesn't make a more positive case for staying in.
The risk to the in campaign is that if it's a negative, miserable scaremongering campaign, then they will turn people off, and that's the last thing that is needed given how narrowly balanced the opinion polls look to be across the UK.
And is that what you've heard so far, a negative scaremongering campaign, what you could call Project Fear?
Well, you know, many of the arguments that we're hearing so far, I think, are very, very reminiscent of the arguments put forward by the No campaign in the Scottish referendum. And, you know, what happened in the Scottish referendum was that kind of negative campaign saw the No campaign squander a 20-point lead over the course of the referendum.
I also saw them win the referendum. I mean, David Cameron could say that these tactics won the referendum and Scotland voted no.
The point I'm going on to make is the In campaign doesn't have a 20-point lead to squander.
For once, the Prime Minister and Nicola Sturgeon are on the same side, but he clearly hasn't had the memo about positive campaigning. Warning today of up to a decade of uncertainty if the UK votes to leave.
What happens for the 7, 8, 9 years while we wait to put these arrangements in place? What happens to jobs? What happens to confidence? What happens to people's livelihoods? What happens to businesses thinking about whether to invest here in Britain or go somewhere else?
Boris Johnson was touring a bus factory in Northern Ireland today. He claims the Remain campaign are trying to frighten voters with scare stories, Project Fear in other words. Unlike the Leave camp, he says.
It's time to show the positive side of what Britain can do. We lead the world in all sorts of sectors that nobody dreamt of even 10 years ago. And now's the opportunity to get rid of so much of the bureaucracy and the over-regulation that's coming from Brussels.
I'm going to look forward to June's referendum.
Nicola Sturgeon says she doesn't want to scare people into staying in the EU.